Okay, today, January 12th, 2021, the Colerain Township Board of Trustees meeting will start, and we are, I'll put the glasses on. We're going for the executive sessions.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Baker, would you please call roll call?
Mr. Unger?
Here.
Mr. Rajagopal?
Here.
And Mr. Waller?
Here.
Okay, Mr. Mills.
Thank you, Mr. Rajagopal. Good evening. The first item on the agenda tonight is an executive session, and so I would recommend that the board move to go into executive session in accordance with Ohio Revised Code, Section 121.22G1, to discuss the employment and compensation of public employees. Also in accordance with Ohio Revised Code, Section 121.22G3, to discuss pending or imminent litigation with the township attorney, and also in accordance with Ohio Revised Code, Section 121.22G8, to consider confidential information relating to specific business strategy and to discuss negotiations with other political subdivisions respecting requests for economic development assistance.
I motion that we go into executive sessions for the reasons Administrator Mills just detailed.
I second it. Okay. Mr. Baker?
No discussion from me.
Any discussions?
No.
Okay.
Mr. Unger?
Aye.
Mr. Rajagopal?
Aye.
Mr. Waller?
Aye.
Okay, we should be back very soon. The Board of Trustees back in sessions from the executive session. Mr. Mills, you have anything to report?
No, sir.
First, Mr. Baker, roll call, please.
Mr. Unger?
Here.
Mr. Rajagopal?
Here.
Mr. Waller?
Here.
Okay. Having nothing, let's start our meeting with the pledge of allegiance. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let's remain stand for the moment of silence. I want to, as we gathered here tonight to start New Year 2021, let's pray for our greatest nation on the earth to be united and unify the people, and let's keep them safe and healthy and prosperity to our country. Thank you. Have a seat, please. The next on the agenda, I think fogging up, the fiscal office approval of minutes.
Thank you, Board. Tonight I have 3 sets of minutes for the Board's approval. First, I would like to ask the Board for the approval of the minutes of the regular meeting on December 8th, 2020.
I motion that we approve the minutes of the regular meeting on December 8th of 2020.
I second it.
No discussion
Any
from me.
discussions?
Mr. Unger?
Aye.
Mr. Rajagopal?
Aye.
And Mr. Waller?
Aye.
Thank you. Secondly, I have the minutes that I would ask the Board to approve from the special meeting of December 29th, 2020.
I motion that we approve the December 29th, 2020 special meeting minutes.
I second it. Any discussions?
None from me.
Okay.
Mr. Unger?
Aye.
Mr. Rajagopal?
Aye.
Mr. Waller?
Aye.
Thank you. And lastly, I would ask for the Board's approval of the minutes from the organizational meeting held on January 5th, 2021.
A motion to approve the minutes, Mr. Baker mentioned.
I will second it.
Any discussions?
Jeff, I had talked to you about the alignment on the one page with item 7, or item H, whichever one that was. And
H.
You got that straightened out?
Yes.
Okay, no other discussion from me.
Okay. Go.
Mr. Unger,
Aye?
Mr. Rajagopal,
Aye.
Mr. Waller.
Aye.
That's all I have, Board.
Thank you, Mr. Baker. The next on the agenda is public hearing.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Rajagopal, and good evening, Board. Tonight we have a public hearing on a zoning matter. It's case ZA 2020-06. It concerns a property at 3431 Springdale Road. It's a proposed map amendment, which would change the site, or the zoning on the site from R6 urban residential to planned development residential to allow for the construction of 66 new townhomes. And giving the presentation before the public hearing is our Planning and Zoning Director, Mr. Mike Iona.
Thank you, Mr. Mills. Can everybody see the PowerPoint showing up on the screen?
Yes, we can, Mike.
It is visible. Okay, excellent. All righty. Take a second to orient myself here. All right. Thank you. Okay, as Mr. Mills said, the submitted request is for a zone change on the site in question, and that's changing it from an R6 urban residential zoning district to a PDR, that's a planned development residential zoning district. And the proposal is a development plan to allow for the construction of 66 townhome units on the site in question. Here you can see the project site. It's located along the southwest of Springdale Road, Grovewood Drive, as well as Mel Carl Drive, also terminate into the site in question. The site contains an area of approximately 8.7 acres. There is some history on the site. Prior to 1996, there were 2 single-family homes on the site which have been demolished. The site was then transferred to the Reorganized Church of Latter-day Saints. In 1970, a planned development, or PDR, planned development district, was approved for the area to the east of the site in question. And that development contained 273 multifamily dwelling units, as well as 115 detached single-family dwelling units. The area to the north of the site, immediately across the
Point of personal privilege here. Can we turn him up a little bit? I know that I'm right near the screen and I'm having trouble.
Sure. Dana, are you able to do that?
Sorry about that, Mr. Iona. I just want to make sure everybody hears.
That's certainly fine, Mr. Waller. Can you, I'll continue to talk if you all, does that sound better?
Yeah.
Okay, I will continue then. The area to the north of the site, the Taylor Point Nursing Home, was approved as a planned development in 2004, and that's located immediately across the street on Springdale Road. Then in early 2020, an application was made on this site in question, and that was for the construction of a 54-unit multifamily dwelling proposal, and that was the workforce housing project, and that made it through zoning commission with a favorable recommendation, and it was denied by the Board of Trustees. That was a subsidized housing product. The application tonight is not a subsidized product. It will be a market rate product. So I just wanted to point that out in the history section of my report. Again, here you can see the project site contains approximately 8.7 acres. The area surrounding the site to the immediate north, south, and a portion of the area to the northwest is currently occupied by single-family residential dwellings. You do have that large multifamily dwelling component to the northeast of the site, which was built in the or approved in the 1970s. And then to the west, you have a large component of commercial land uses located along the Colerain Avenue corridor. And then again, immediately across the street is the nursing home that was approved in 2004. So the zoning on the site in question, along with the area to the north, south, and to the west, is currently zoned R6. The R6 is a urban residential zoning district that permits a variety of residential uses, including attached single family, detached single family, 2-family, 3-family, and 4-family multifamily units. The site, the area to the east, as well as to the northwest, is currently zoned PDR, which is the proposal for the site in question. And that's a planned development residential district. And then the peripheral area to the to the west is currently zoned B2, which is a mixed-use commercial district. The application before the board tonight is a preliminary development plan. PDs are approved in a 2-part process. The first part is the preliminary development plan, which entails more of the concept of the proposal. And it hones in on things like density and setbacks and things like that. And then the final development plan, if this was to be approved, is the next stage. And that hones in on all the specifics of the project. So tonight, the Board of Trustees does take action to either approve or disapprove, and that will occur in the new business section under planning and zoning. So you can see the submitted development plan here. It indicates the construction of 66 attached townhome units. The townhomes are built in a 3-unit attached building form. You can see that the site plan also contains the extension of Mel Carl Drive to the south, which terminates into a cul-de-sac. And then it also contains an extension of existing Grovewood Drive with a new street to be named. It's called Street A on the site plan. You can see an access point is created to the site off of Springdale Road. There's really 2 portions to the site in question. You have your north portion, which contains a bulk of the development. And then you have that south portion off of Mel Carl Drive, which contains some additional units. And the north and south section are divided by a water feature that goes down a blue line stream, which goes between the 2 components. You do have 2 large open space areas that occupy over 25% of the site in question. Open space area B contains the detention on the site. To the south of the of lot 58, you can see, excuse me, to the west of lot 58, you can see that the applicant proposes to construct a dog park. And then additionally, there are off-street parking spaces that are located off of those streets. This slide shows, you know, a typical elevation of the proposed townhomes. The applicant proposes to construct all 3-bedroom townhomes with an option to have 2-bath or 2.5 bathrooms. They would all be 3-story townhomes with a 1-car garage and then parking for 1 car in the driveway. The applicant also proposes to construct landscaping along Springdale Road. So they would construct a new landscaping buffer along Springdale Road, in addition to a gateway feature that would also contain a molded stone entrance sign, as well as enhanced landscaping beds there at the entrance of the proposed development. In order to accommodate, in order to make the project happen, the applicant is requesting the following. The first thing is that zone change in that preliminary development plan, which is part of that first part of all PD approvals. The second is a variance from the minimum lot width, as well as the side yard setbacks to allow for the applicant to construct those attached units in a manner that would allow them to sell them as a private lot. Number 3 is a variance from the minimum width requirement for dwelling units. The applicant has a product that is 20 feet wide, and the minimum requirement in the zoning ordinance resolution, excuse me, is 22 feet. So they're looking for a 2-foot variance from the minimum required width of a dwelling unit. And then the fourth request is a variance from the setback requirements for the off-street parking pod that's located adjacent to Unit 15. The requirement is a 50-foot setback from the adjacent single-family lot on Grovewood Drive. And the proposal currently shows approximately 8 to 9 feet. At the zoning commission hearing, the applicant was happy to, if they were approved, the applicant stated that they were happy to find a way to relocate those spaces somewhere else in the development so that they would not need this variance request. So the statutes for approval of the preliminary development plan are as follows. Number one, that the plan is consistent with the comprehensive plan. Number two, that the proposed uses will have a beneficial effect on the community. And number three, that the internal street network can handle and properly interconnect with the surrounding road network. Number four, that the site will be accessible from the public roads that are adequate to carry the traffic that the site will need. And then that there is common open space areas that will be designated and maintained by a homeowners association. And number six, that the preliminary development plan is consistent with the intent and purpose of the zoning resolution, and that the development plan has been transmitted to all other agencies and departments charged with the responsibility of review. And, excuse me here.
Mike, we're having a hard time hearing you. Are you?
Yes, I'm coming in here. For some reason, I'm not able to access the information I need to access right now. I do apologize. Oh, okay, here it is. I apologize. So at the zoning commission recommended to approve the proposed final development plan subject to the following conditions. And it was A, that a landscape plan be provided at the final development plan stage that sufficiently addresses preservation of existing tree canopy, preservation of existing open space, in addition to the provision of additional landscaping and plantings needed to provide proper screening of the development from the surrounding single-family residential dwellings. B, that the final building elevations shall be in keeping with the designs and materials contained within the submitted application of the preliminary development plan. C, that a homeowners association be established and maintained into perpetuity to ensure the proper maintenance of the site as well as the open space in the development. D, that the homeowners association establish a restriction where 15% or less of the units shall be used for rental. E, that the applicant, to the greatest extent possible, will relocate the off-street parking located adjacent to lot 15 into another part of the development. F, that all fire hydrants shall be installed per the city waterworks and the Hamilton County requirements. And G, that the proposal meet all requirements of the Hamilton County engineer prior to approval of the final plat. H, that the proposal meet all requirements of the Hamilton County Department of Soil and Water prior to the approval of the final plat. I, that a list of projects from the developer be provided prior to the trustee meeting. That was something that was provided, it was also on the website. J, that variances from the minimum lot width as well as the variances from the side yard setbacks to allow for the proposed development to occur within individual lots be approved. And then K, that a variance from the minimum width of a dwelling unit to allow for the construction of 20 feet wide lots where 22 feet is the minimum requirement shall be approved. And then finally, that the variance request from the for the off-street parking setback where the requirement is 50 feet, where the applicant is showing that 8 to 9 feet, that be denied. And that is all for the staff report. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Hi, Mike.
Well, You know, maybe I would suggest maybe this public hearing be a time to take in information and then have that conversation
Okay,
back
you're
and
right.
forth later on in the meeting. I believe we have several folks that want to provide comments.
Turn on your, you need to turn on your,
We motion to have a public hearing on ZA 2020-06-3431 Springdale Road, a proposed map amendment changing the zoning on the site from R6, urban residential, to PDR, planned development residential, to allow for the construction of 66 townhomes.
I'll motion to open up the public hearing, ZA 2020-06, 3431 Springdale Road, proposed map amendment, changing the zoning on the site from R6, urban residential, to PDR, planned development residential, to allow for the construction of 66 townhomes.
I will second that motion.
Any discussions?
None.
Okay, so we'll call for the vote.
Mr. Unger,
Aye.
Mr. Rajagopal,
Aye.
Mr. Waller.
Aye.
So we have a group of people signed up for the, appear for the public hearing, and they need to be sworn in.
I'll go
Okay.
ahead and swear them in individually as they come up to.
How many's out there?
When they come in,
What could they can,
we got 4 people here.
5, 6, 7. If you have 3 people in, that makes 10.
So it's not 3?
Sure.
Sounds like they're out there breaking stuff.
Hello.
Aye.
Is Rich still out there?
Do you want me to bring?
No, no.
There are 2 more people out there, so I just told that they would come in.
Okay, what I'll do, I go by the people signed in the order I received.
Well, I think the presentation first for the applicants, and if you guys would just, I'll swear you in real fast. You plan on both talking? You swear to tell the truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God? I do. All right.
Very good.
Good evening. I'm Graham Carlin. I'm Vice President of the HPA Development Group. In an effort not to...
Is the mic on?
Can you hear me? Okay. I'm Graham Parlin. I'm Vice President of HPA Development Group, 9091 Montgomery Road. I'm here with Craig Rassy, representing Ryan Homes. In an effort not to repeat a very thorough staff presentation and be redundant, I'd just like to say we see a great opportunity to redevelop an infill site in Colerain Township. We're looking to develop 66 townhomes, for sale townhomes, with Ryan Homes being the builder. We'd be the site developer, with a landscaped entry with irrigation, landscaping entry walls, what we do everywhere. Because of the uniqueness of the site, we've got stub streets that we're connecting, with the exception of where the existing creek runs through the site, which we plan on connecting the 2 kind of pods, phases of the development via a sidewalk, and installing a dog park amenity area. We've made some modifications since we've been to Zoning Commission as it relates to moving off-street parking, adding off-street parking, which was identified as an issue. Our modified plan addresses that. I guess all in all, we see there's a unique opportunity for young professionals who want to live in the urban core, not way out in the burbs. This is a great site to redevelopment. It's close to a lot of, obviously, shopping, restaurants, highway systems, and we think our product and land plan would be a good fit for the township, and are here to answer any questions you may have.
Hello, my name's Craig Rassey, 8622 Jackman Drive, Westchester, Ohio. I am representing Ryan Holmes. I'm the land manager with them. Not to repeat what Graham has already said, but we are excited for the opportunity again to build in your township. We have built in the past with you. We do feel it's a market that we want to be in. We want to build more than just this location, if possible, coming down the road. But it is a unique opportunity to provide some housing in the township that isn't right now readily available. Thank you.
Good.
Public hearing and then.
Oh, public, okay. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. You want to bring a Rich?
Crazy times. Thank you, gentlemen.
They're gonna hang around, aren't they?
Yeah.
And then they'll come back in. Right, so who's out there? Ethan, Rich? Yes.
I'll go ahead and swear it both of you real fast. Please state your name when you guys approach the podium and your address. Please raise your right hand. You swear to tell the truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God? I do. Thank you, gentlemen. I don't know if Rich wants to go first.
Wait for the president to call me up. You ready? Please, thank you. It's been so long since I've been there, maybe I forgot how to do this. Board, thank you for listening to me tonight. I respectfully submit that the zoning change
Could you
from
please
R6
just state your name? I'm sorry,
Rich
Rich.
McVeigh, I signed in.
Okay.
You got it. I respectfully submit the zoning change from R6 to PDR for the construction of 66 townhomes at 3431 Springdale Road should be denied in its present form. No basis has been submitted that establishes how the township or neighboring properties will benefit by agreeing to the zoning variances for lot width reduction, reduction in unit width, or lot setback that in total represent a 30% increase in housing density. All variances seem to simply enhance the profit for the developer. The following significant issues exist with the proposed development. There will likely be an increase in pedestrian traffic on Springdale, and we have no sidewalk to Colerain Avenue, and we lack about a half a mile of sidewalk to the Taylor Elementary School. The off-street parking in the complex has not really been defined or located. You can't see it on the drawings. No architectural street lighting or landscaping seems to exist within the complex, and I'll come back to that in a minute. I don't know if there is a legal method to control a maximum of 15% rental properties. I don't think it's been defined how do we do that or how it's controllable once a person owns a piece of property. There seems to be minimal usable open space and walkways for residents that project a community feel, and I'll come back to that. Importantly, in my view, it tentatively sets the wrong precedent for future developments, such as Sovereign and the lot we have across from the police credit union just down the road. On the township, it's a minimal impact on our incremental revenue. If you value the thing at between 11 and $15 million, depending on how much it is per square foot, it would probably bring into the till of the township an incremental $5,000 to $6,000 per year. If you spread the cost of the development across the asset base in the township, it might reduce the overall property tax rates by less than 0.3%. I'd also point out, it'd be remiss if I did not share that in the zoning commission, the two most experienced voters or commissioners voted not to approve this zoning request.
This is not a transformational change, which you guys are interested in producing. It's not the kind of thing that's going to put our township on the map as an attractive place to be. It seems to offer little to existing residents that they desire, and I'll come back to that. I think what we need to have is our zoning and PDR developments take into account what residents are saying they are seeking in their neighborhoods. Simply offering variances to zoning to make the development more economically attractive to investors does not seem to be in the best interest of the township and what residents want. Now, recently, residents participated in this Imagine Colerain project that Director Iona led us through. And I looked at the data that was submitted. And it's interesting that I believe it was 40% of the comments that were made were pertaining to sidewalks, connectors, and outdoor activities. This is what people were telling you they were interested in. The next category of 16% was to clean up the commercial area. The next area of importance was 16% of the total vote, and that was for economic development. And then the final three in order were Rumpke, rural area preservation, and traffic. So residents are telling you that they want walkable communities, they want to be outside, they want to have access, they want to have places that their kids can ride their bikes and do it safely and this kind of stuff. And I think that this development could provide that if it was re-envisioned in a way that provided more of those amenities than currently exist. And so I'm not against the concept. I'm just saying that in no way is this a transformational housing development. And the next guy knocking on your door is this piece of property, right across from the credit union on Springdale. And then we have the Sovereign property that still has not been clarified on what's going to happen there. And if we just drop this in as it now stands, I think you'd have a very difficult time making the case that why couldn't you do it in the other two lots that I mentioned. So it's on those bases, trustees, that I think that in the present form, you should ask the planning department and the developer to reconsider this and to take into consideration the kinds of things that our residents are saying that they would need. Now, if you have any questions about that, I'd be glad to try to answer them. I just want to point one other thing out here, and then there's another agenda item that Mr. Weckbeck said I should talk to since as part of the citizen address, and then I'll get out of here. It's a short item. Economic development. I mentioned it here, this small detail that getting more revenue is important for us, but people need to understand that when you put in a development such as this, the only millage that really impacts more revenue is what we call inside millage. Because when property owners approve a water levy like they did for this fire levy, they approved a fixed amount of money, okay? They didn't, and the state laws are written so that as your housing values go up, you don't pay more money because the law is written so that is a fact. On the inside millage, that's a different case. Inside millage you do get more revenue when the asset base increases. So in this case, if it's as I said, maybe $11 or $12 million investment, it's probably going to bring us anywhere between, incrementally to the township, $5 or $6 million, $5,000 or $6,000 a year. 1.4 mils times, what the asset value is a quick way to get those kind of numbers. So economic development in this context is not the solution to some of our revenue issues, and I just have you think about that in the context of this. Moving on, the second point is around the citizen address. Tonight, I know you're going to talk about having writing a contract with a consultant to get at our new solid waste contract, and there'd be two things that I would say relative to that. One is that for our gas and electric aggregations, we have an opt-out option, and there was some feedback when we rolled this thing out initially that Some people didn't want it. So I think if you, on principle, if you have an opt-out provision for gas and electric, it makes sense to me to have an opt-out provision here for this solid waste pickup. Now, I know that we've got some incremental revenue since people have done this. I mean, I look at the numbers and I shared them with Jeff. We're probably getting maybe 40 grand more a year since we started this program than we have in the past because more people are recycling. That's been a good part of it, and we get some kickback for that. So there may be some fear that if you opt out, you know, that might change and people may recycle less. Here's what I suggest you do. As I've read the contract that you have in front of you, it's kind of a cut and paste contract. I don't have a problem with that, but there's a piece that speaks to scope that you want them to, what you want them to look at. And I suggest that you have them do a little bit of a survey with, pick a group of residents, you know, randomly, a number that they can get done on your timeline, and ask them about what it is they like and don't like about the current service, and see how that can be brought into this whole look at what's the right thing to do for a township. Do you understand what I'm saying? Thank you very much. I appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you, sir.
The next on the list is Keith Miller, please.
Good evening.
Good evening, Keith.
Good evening, Board. I really wasn't up on what was being talked on that with the zoning and all that, but I do know we've let zoning go, you know, as our stories, you know, what do we got, 2-story level, actually. We let Rumpke break it. These people here are looking to break it again. That the hotel down there on Colerain, that new one, that's 4 stories too. That broke our zoning. Can't we take this, if I'm not mistaken, can't we take these people that broke our zoning and put them in their own tax zone, and we can create more tax money for us by letting them pay more? I'm like, Rumpke's all family anyway. Why don't we put his building in his own tax zone anyway? It's all family's gonna pay them taxes anyway. If we can make more money that way, shouldn't we be doing that? I mean, I'm just a thought, you know? And that came from somebody in this room. Well, no longer in this room, but you know, we need to put these buildings that broke our zoning in their own tax zone and get some money out, get some money back. I mean, I'm paying more money for them. I mean, I'm paying more money for Duke. And also was told that our irrigation's doing us wrong again. I was also at that point out that our irrigation's doing us wrong again. When I first come in this room, the irrigation was doing us wrong. But it seemed like everybody in this building wasn't getting the same rate as the people out here. And you know, that's happened before, and I'm afraid it's happening again. So we need to get them people here and get them straightened out. As a matter of fact, I remember when one woman was here, she said word for word, she talked with her daddy about what she was doing with irrigation. For one thing, I don't know who her daddy is. In fact, we didn't hire her daddy to be the person to do that. We hired her. So why is she talking to her daddy about it? And I want to know who her daddy was. That's what I really want to know, who her daddy was. But we need to get them in there and figure out why our irrigation isn't doing good people good again. Because we got it again. I just got that told to me. We just got that again. What, 4.5? Is that what it was? I have to go look that up. I got it at home. Should have brought it with me, but I forgot. I'm sorry. But you know, we need to get irrigation in here and figure all that out on that utility bills. I mean, like I said, when I first come in here, everybody in this building was getting a better rate than the people. And we're not going to play that game again. So I thank you, and we're going to let it go with that. And as for that zoning, we need to start figuring out when we break our zoning, it needs to be, we need to get something out as a township and not just let them keep breaking the zoning and we get nothing for it, you know? Let's put Rumpke's building in tax zone, let them, everybody in that building pay taxes. Just a suggestion. Thank you, Board, for listening.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Keith.
Okay, I think that's all.
I don't think there's anyone else. I'll go check, but I don't think there's anyone else out there.
Okay.
So we can close public hearing.
Okay. Give us a wave. You're not on.
I will motion to close the public hearing. Oh. Okay.
Okay, no one there?
No one else is there, so you can
Okay.
close the public hearing.
Motion to close public hearing ZA 2020-06, 3431 Springdale Road, proposed map amendment changing the zoning on the site from R6, urban residential to PDR, planned development residential, to allow for the construction of 66 townhomes.
I second it.
No discussion from me.
Any discussion there?
No.
Call for the vote, please.
Mr. Unger?
Aye?
Mr. Rajagopal?
Aye?
Mr. Waller?
Aye.
We have to, we'll vote on it.
That's just closing the public hearing.
Okay. The next on the agenda is the presentations.
No presentations this evening, Mr. Rajagopal.
No presentation. Okay, the next is a citizen's address. And we have only one person signed up, Keith Miller.
No, there's no in-person citizen address this evening because the state is at red, or the county is at red. So,
Yeah, right.
and I received no emails.
Okay. Then I have a email from Kathy Moore. I think it's addressed to the Law Department, Scott also. And I'm just going to briefly read a little bit. The first paragraph, I can't download or see a full.
Is it protected legal?
It's public. It says he sent to us, sent to the Law Department.
So typically, Mr. Rajagopal, the process for submitting comments for citizen comment is if you send an email to Colerain, twp@colerain.org, that's Colerain, twp@colerain.org, by noon on Monday. That's the process that was established by the Board of Trustees. Then it is entered into the record at this moment in time, but we received none of those.
And I didn't receive anything on my email.
It says copy to. So I just want to tell that our citizens, so any email or any citizen's address, if it is an email form, need to be addressed, send it to the township
Yes, sir.
Monday noon, right?
Yes.
Then it'll be bring it to the trustees meeting. That concerns will be addressed.
Right, and as always, I'm sure if folks want to send emails to the Board of Trustees, do that anytime. But if you want it to be read during citizens' address, then send it to Colerain, twp@colerain.org, and we'll have it read into the record here at citizens' address. But we received no emails this week.
Okay.
Mr. President, it's my kind of belief I received the email, and it's my kind of belief that it was something that she wanted an individual response to, I think, from the folks that she sent it to. I mean, I think it's like nine downloads, which
I got
is,
4 of them. Okay.
yeah, because it took me a couple minutes to actually bring it up. I think that's the spirit behind her request, because I had sent something back and said, look, it's going to take me a couple days to get through all this, and I don't want to comment in mass. I want to comment on each individual comment. So
When did you receive that, Matt?
I just opened it up this afternoon. I think it went out last night.
I don't recall seeing any emails from Kathy, so.
So let's clarify this. If citizens send the concerns, send to the personally either one of the trustees or all the trustees, then we forward to you
No, I would
or
say.
bring it to the meeting.
I would say that if folks want, so when, and this is written up before every meeting, and it gets sent out in an email to anybody who signs up via Circle. When the county is read, and you want to provide input to the trustees at citizen address time at a trustee meeting, you send an email to Colerain, twp@colerain.org, and then I bring it in and give it to the board, and it gets read into the record. In that glorious time when COVID's behind us, we'll be back to in-person citizen comment. But until then, because we can only have 10 people in this room at a time, that's how we have to do it. Of course, if anyone wants to send the board an email, just a personal email, that's great. But I believe that the purpose of the citizens' address on the agenda is to is different from just sending an email to a trustee. Yeah.
Okay. So I just need to clarify that. Thank you.
Yep,
Thank you,
sure.
Mr. Mills.
Yes, sir.
The next on the agenda is administrative reports.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Rajagopal. We will begin tonight. I think Mr. Weckbach is pulling that up onto the screen here. There we go. We'll begin tonight with the fire department and Chief Alan Walls.
Good evening to the board and those of you watching virtually and everyone else here in attendance. Tonight for the administrative reports. Our EMS incidents for the month of December were 807 for a total year end of 8,673 EMS responses. Our fire responses for the month of December were 150 for a year end total of 1,833. We realized about a 2% increase in our incident responses from 2019 to 2020. We made 46 responses into Springfield Township for a total of 380 in the Pleasant Run contract area. Significant incidents building fire-wise, the 10,000 block of Windswept Lane and the 9900 block of Skyridge Drive. Our reported fire loss for the month was $23,000 for a total of $612,306 for the month of December. Our average for the year. Our average response time for the arrival of the first unit was 5 minutes and 21 seconds for a year in total of 5 minutes and 15 seconds, and our first unit on the scene was 70.32% for the month of December for a year end of 71.99%. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Chief. Good report.
Thank you, Chief. Chief Denny, do we have Chief Denny? Yes, sir. Now, yep.
Good evening, Board. For the month of December, our officers responded to 3,445 calls for service. That put us right around 42,000 for the year. They made 55 arrests and 7 OVI arrests, and the response time was about 8.3 minutes for all calls combined. And I put out a year-end summary that went out on Circle earlier in the week, and it showed significant decreases in all the levels of crime. So we had a very good year. Of course, a lot of that is probably related to the reduced call volume that we had due to COVID, but we'll take whatever reductions in crime we can get. But it was a good year, and we're hoping to keep that trend up. That's about a 4-year trend now that we've seen reductions each year. So that's going very well. That's all I have to report.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Chief. I also read your crime stat, the email you sent. I think our department doing a great job protecting our people. Thank you for the service you do for our community, our township.
Thank you, Chief. I just did some quick math. That's 116 calls every 24-hour period, which is pretty amazing.
What makes that more difficult is that's usually actually reduced to about a 12-hour period where 90%, so you can see where we get quite busy from about 8 a.m. to 10 o'clock at night.
Well, thank you for the hard work, and again, I just wanted to express my regrets that I wasn't able to make the ceremony. I understand that it went very well, and I appreciate everything you guys do.
Thank you. I received messages from everybody, and Trustee Rajagopal was in attendance. I appreciate the show.
Chief, that was a great event, and we thank all the area police officers that come and participated. I think our Lieutenant Chris Phillips did an amazing job, set up this event.
Sorry.
And, Captain Phil. Thanks, Mike. Thank you very much, Chief. Thank our officers.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Very good. Thank you, Chief. Next, we have Mrs. Jackie O'Connell, who will be presenting on the Public Services Department.
Good evening, gentlemen. I've got several things to report to you this evening. You can see from the park stats, our park visitorship was up significantly, which was a nationwide trend this year with COVID. Folks were trying to get out and get some air, and they came to our parks, and Colerain was no different. So our parks saw an uptick in all levels of visitorship at all parks. So we're very pleased with that. And our request for service, those are 231 requests that came in on the CSR. We have additional requests that came in via email and via telephone, and we're getting better at tracking those. But that obviously 231 requests is not the extent of everything we did this year. A couple of items to report to you. As you'll hear later, and you've probably read already, Colerain Park Playground Replacement Phase 2 has been awarded $500,000 from the state capital improvement budget that was finally passed. So we're very pleased about that. We are working with a contractor to dovetail Phase 2 into Phase 1. So we will not have a Phase 1 opening. We will keep the playground closed until Phase 2 is also developed. It will save us money as well. July 3rd, mark your calendars. We are bringing back the fireworks. Our Shane Packer, who is in charge of our COVID team, thinks that we should be good to go by July 3rd. So the Summer Events Committee is starting their planning for fireworks on July 3rd. That's a Saturday this year. So everybody get ready to come out and celebrate. I have a couple thank yous that I'd like to pass along and let you folks know about. The CCA for picking up trash and litter. They turned in their year-end numbers, and don't have those in front of me, but I know they were in a circle. And recently, last week, Patty Eckstein in the Moose Lodge reached out. They spent some time cleaning up at Colerain and Galbraith, specifically to clean up around the Duke Energy site for the Dale Woods Memorial. So they spent quite a bit of time picking up bags of trash. 3 days a group spent out there cleaning up. So many thanks to Patty and the Moose Lodge and the CCA for helping keep our streets clean in Colerain. And also some good news to report. Last week or the week before, April, with Catholic Charities of Southwest Ohio, who administers the USDA Farmers to Families program, reached out and asked, so they got a second round of funding to go through April, and wanted to know if we would be again interested in hosting. So I reached out to Jeff and Lieutenant Phillips, and they all said yep. And Lieutenant Phillips provided me with some dates. And then late Friday afternoon, April texted me back and asked if we would be willing to take one a month. So that's February, March, and April. I think that she said that they were approved for 5 distribution sites. That means Colerain would have 3 of those. And that is truly a testament to the work that we put in, the support we provide, and really Lieutenant Phillips' traffic wizardry on crowd control, and traffic flow. As you may remember, last time they were here, we passed out over 1,000 boxes in about an hour and a half. So we've got it down to a science, and it's good to see that people recognize that and want to come back. So this is really a coup for the residents of Colerain as well, that something is so close. They don't have to travel downtown for this. They've got a 5-minute drive to get here. That's all I got.
That's a great report, Jackie. Thank you very much. Thank you for your outstanding service.
Ms. O'Connell, thank you. I'm so happy. That's the first news I've heard about this extension. When this plan first came up, this Foods to Families, I figured we'd get 1, maybe 2 out of it. And to hear that it's just been expanded is fantastic. I mean, it couldn't happen at a better time. I know there are a lot of families in need right now. You're my new favorite person. Thank you so much. Sorry, Mr. Baker. It's now Miss. I also want to thank you for working so hard with the groups of kind of ad hoc groups of litter gatherers. I know that you've made yourself available and encouraged folks and done what you can to kind of help facilitate that, and I'm very appreciative of that as well. Now, my next thing, all my projects always go through you. See, that's why I gave you that big compliment in the beginning. I don't know. One of the things that I've looked at and I've wanted to do in conjunction with kind of the veterans in the area is put some of the banners on the overpasses. Now, I've talked to ODOT about that, and I've actually driven out to a couple places on I-275 that have the banners, and I just kind of think that the ones that they have are too small. So I'm going to be getting with you hopefully and if it's something that the trustees support in getting the banners up, but I'm looking for a different size. I don't know if you're familiar with over by Kellogg, where the Maupin family put the U.S. flag banners and stuff, but something similar to that. But I just don't think they really, been watching a lot of decorating shows, I don't think they pop, that they're maybe not big enough or something. So maybe you can help me, give me some advice on what to look for on that. But otherwise, thank you so much, Ms. O'Connell, for your report. It's fantastic, and you made my night hearing that the Foods to Families is going to return for 3 straight months. Thank you.
Yep, that's the plan. So, yeah, and just get with me when you can, Mr. Waller, and we will talk about banners. And I will tell you that even last week, I fielded 2 requests for people looking for banners to still get into the banner program. So people are still talking about it.
Yeah, I've had people still say things to me about it, and that was fantastic. It was the veteran banners. It gives us a little bit of character, and it, you know, the percentage of veterans in Colerain Township is almost double that in Hamilton County. You know, we're built on service to our country, whether it's picking up trash, like I should have included this, like Debbie Horst did. She has now picked up almost 500 pounds of trash in the last month. That's incredible, for 2 reasons: that she picked up 500 pounds of trash, and that there was 500 pounds. And you mentioned the CCA, and you mentioned Patty Eckstein as well, in the Moose Lodge. One other thing, looking at my notes that I did for, actually that's for Mr. Mills, so I'll hold off. Thank you so much, Ms. O'Connell.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Jackie.
Thank you, Ms. O'Connell. What I heard that popped out there was fireworks in July, amen. Let's do that. Okay, the next administrative report comes from Mr. Iona in the Department of Planning and Zoning.
Thank you, Mr. Mills. Again, good evening, trustees. Banner year in 2020 for permit volume. We tied the highest year in record. In 2008, we had 515. And in 2020, we had 515 again. So big year with permits. As far as our boards and commissions, our BZA and zoning commission, our volume was down a little bit this year. But I think that's also in part to that we've doubled down on our efforts in the pre-application. So working with the applicants before they apply for one of these boards. And I think that's done a wonderful job in getting the right applications forward, spending that time with applicants who have a project that, you know, may not meet code by any means, sitting down with them and explaining the code, and then having them say, oh, wow, well, this doesn't sound like it's going to get approved, and saying, oh, okay, yeah. And then they say, well, thank you for saving us our time. And then I also say, well, thank you for saving us time as well. So, as far as violation volume, you know, it's been a busy year. This is the month of December, and this is the month of December over the past 12 years. December is always a light month, as you can see, but we had 132 violations. As always, and I've presented on it before, our number 1 violation is always trash, followed by property maintenance. With regard to abatements in 2020, our grass abatements are down significantly, and which I think is a testament to, you know, the effort that we have put into it over years past. And, you know, when you pay $400+ to get your grass mowed, typically you learn a lesson. So those are trending down, but we have completed a number of really critical trash abatements on key properties in the township. Which have yielded very good results. And you know, every time we do one of these key properties, it's great to hear the neighbors call in and thank us for the great work that we do and the work that you all authorize. Housing court referrals. You know, this is kind of a skewed statistic here due to COVID. Court has been delayed a number of times, and so you know, we do have not a large backlog, but a backlog of cases. As soon as things the lines clear out a little bit, we'll continue to work through those, and I'm sure we'll continue to have those. And that's it for my report tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Iona.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Great job.
All right, gentlemen, and my report this evening is fairly brief. I just wanted to wish you and all of our residents and businesses a very happy new year. 2021 is a year full of promise, I hope. 2020 was a challenge that we made through, and I think that we made it through with flying colors. And I'm so proud of the team and all of their efforts in 2020 to adapt and continue to provide the incredible service to our residents. I wanted to share my excitement about the 2021 strategic plan and budget. We are beginning our work on all of the initiatives for 2021. Cannot wait to dig in here. You know, the big theme that the board established for 2021 was prosperous, green, and clean. To that end, we have this evening, we will hopefully hire 2 litter laborers that will be out picking up trash along our roads. That's the clean part. Hopefully next month, we will be hiring a police officer that will allow for us to establish the Environmental Crimes Task Force, which is the person who will be laser focused on dumping that is outside of the right of way or on private property, whether that's commercial or residential. And I think that we're gonna really turn the corner on this litter issue in the coming months. I'm very excited about that. I also wanted to share with you a brief update on the streetscape project that we received a very large grant from the federal government through OKI to construct a new streetscape between John Rose and Shady Crest on Colerain Avenue. These projects are extraordinarily slow moving, but we have begun the design work and expect construction to begin in 2023. So we will be doing design this year. We will be doing right-of-way acquisition in 2022, all the environmental reviews, etc., and construction in 2023. So that project is coming along, and I'm excited about it. Those are 2 highlights that I wanted to point out this evening, and that concludes my report.
Thank you, Jeff. Great job.
Raj, turn on your mic.
This new one, confusing, you know. The next on the agenda.
I just had a couple questions for Mr. Mills, if I could, sorry. I can't believe that this is the case, but I did some, with some pushing from a resident, I did some deep dives on this. And you've seen the pictures posted of the donation boxes. About a month and a half, 2 months ago, I kind of floated the idea of banning the donation boxes right around Christmas time, which was a great idea so that I could look more like a Scrooge. But, you know, part of my issue with them is that there are those that do a fantastic job of taking care of them and those that let them overflow. As I looked at this, I was shocked to find out a couple things. Some of these donation boxes actually don't have numbers on them, and some of them are not even nonprofits. And what happens is, like any kind of bureaucratic venture, and this has been an issue in Chicago and New York and some of the bigger cities, is that in the middle of the night, they'll dump off a donation box. And it'll be whatever, for clothes or whatever, and it's not exactly, it doesn't go to a nonprofit. These people are selling the stuff, believe it or not. And it seems to me that when we see the photos of the donation boxes that are out of control, we get on it right away. I think one of them was cleaned up within a day. But my point is that the ones that we have to clean up are the ones that seem to have very dubious lineage. You can't find a number. It's located through some corporation. I found one that was a corporation of a corporation in San Francisco. So I don't know if administration would be open to perhaps, I don't even want to charge for it, maybe a license to put the donation box there. Even if you talk to some of the corporations that might have property there and you say, oh, did you allow this? They said, no, I just figured that somebody else did. So what's happening is that we have some folks that are taking advantage of people's goodwill, which I don't like. We have some folks that are causing problems for our businesses and citizens that I don't like either. Maybe the answer isn't banning them. Maybe the answer is weeding out the bad ones through just a simple process. I don't know if that's something you and Mr. Weckbach could put your heads together and figure out something. I don't know if it's been a problem locally elsewhere, but usually Mark Twain said Cincinnati, so it was probably a problem in Chicago 10 years ago. We're going to have it now. So that was the one. And we briefly talked about this, and I want to just make sure, and I probably should ask both chiefs as well. With everything we're hearing about I'll call it a rollout of COVID vaccines, our people, our first responders are getting what they need. Is kind of what we talked about, right?
Yes.
Okay, I just want to make sure because that's been an issue nationwide right now. So on the bins, I mean, is that?
Oh, yes. So tell me a little bit more about the guardrails that you'd like to put in. What I heard you say was nonprofits are okay, for-profits are not okay.
Yeah, I don't think it's a good idea to do a for-profit. I don't want the government putting their thumb on the scale. Nonprofits, I'm fine with. Some people have made the point that you have Goodwill and St. Vincent de Paul you can drop off, but they're not always accessible. At this point, rather than throw the baby out with the bathwater, maybe we go after the ones that are for-profit or have you can't get a hold of anyone. I mean, I don't even know what you do with that. Did you just take it?
So some rules around on your bin, there has to be contact information on your bin, or maybe as part of the licensing process, there needs to be contact information provided so that we can say, hey, come pick up your bin.
And who okayed it?
Yeah, and the consent of the property owner.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I've run into that also, Mr. Waller.
Okay, yeah, I think that's become bigger and bigger issues, the consent of the property owner, because everybody just assumes that someone said yes.
Right.
And I know it sounds like kind of minor, but you know what? It's not when you figure that people are taking advantage of our citizens' goodwill. That's my issue with that. So I'd appreciate it, and thank you so much. If you could come back with some kind of issues we can talk about.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Jeff, Matt, I totally agree with you. We have some of the, like a place, like for example, that Green City.
Yes.
They put 3 bins up on right in the Walmart. It's almost like a dumping ground. And you also try to contact these people almost a week ago. They said they'll come and remove it, and they're not following through it. So should we continue to have those kind of bins, and the people, even the nonprofit organizations, continue to have the bins, and people not even throwing in the bin, they're throwing all around this, become like a whole pile of dumps, you know? Should we altogether avoid that? Because if the people not take responsibility of cleaning their mess, why should we have them? You know, it's burden to us that we end up in doing this. So in the essence, they're not following their goals. It's simply sitting there. They're not even removing that, whatever the people give the donations. I think my thing will be they have to get the permission from the administration, have some type of contract or anything. So they removing that orderly fashions. Okay, if not, they had to remove that bins. Okay, so whatever the days, every Monday or Tuesday, they had to come and clean up, unload whatever the people donated it. What Matt mentioning about the one non-profitable, that people just throw the donation box, whatever it is, they're unknown people. They may have, like he said, a personal gain. They take it and sell it, and that should be cited. We are put it or just thrown out. Okay?
Yes, sir.
And I really thank you for calling that the Green City, the corporation, whatever it is, and make an effort to clean up the mess.
Yes, my conversation with the property manager of the Walmart North complex, they've towed those things off of the lot 3 times in the past, and they keep coming back. So if there is a license that requires, property owner permission, I doubt that they would have it at that location and many other locations throughout the township.
So, Scott, it's to establish some type of format or contract with this type of people contacting first.
It doesn't sound like it'd be a contract per se. It sounds like it'd be a permitting process that would at least allow us to, have contact information if there is an issue with the certain location. But I think, like Mr. Mills was talking about, I think, contacting the property owners and making sure they're on board is definitely the first step, because that's kind of, that reminds me of a past issue that the township has already, the bench billboard issue. I think there were a lot of property owners who didn't. They thought that they were approved by whether it was Metro or the township. To this day, they still don't know that there's no authority for those to have been on their property.
And Mr. Swinman, if in fact, and this is the first time I've heard that Walmart is called, the Green City is the one that I alluded to that's it started as a San Francisco hippie co-op in the 70s, and I don't know what it is now, but they have sub-corporations. I like to get these, maybe we need home rule to do a resolution. You know, we're on these companies, clean up your lot. We need to protect them if somebody's dumping off these big bins and just leaving them there. And I'm sure Walmart can get them on tape. Maybe that's something we need to kind of pursue too. I'd love to find out who does it, who's doing it, because I got a feeling that there's a lot of other communities that like to know where those come from as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you. The next on the agenda is the public service.
Oh, I think trustee report.
The motion to accept the.
No, I believe there's a trustee report next.
Oh, right. Yep. Go ahead, trustee. You want to go first? Yeah.
Hello, everyone, and happy New Year 2021. If some of the things this board discusses seems repetitive, and I've said this plenty of times, and the other ones have too, we don't talk to each other outside of meetings, so a lot of times this is the first time we've heard from one another. So thank you for your indulgence. As far as places to donate clothing, somebody at my house got the clean out the closet bug, and we took 8 bags over to St. Vincent de Paul. It has a store at the corner of Colerain and Galbraith, and when I arrived there, they come out and help you unload it, and they sort the stuff and put it in their nice store that's there. So that's just one place that is well-run that handles donated items. You mentioned the police officer for the environmental crime investigations, Mr. Mills. The funding for that comes out of our...
So I believe the way that we had structured that was, let's see, the first year was going to be out of the DEA fund, and then the second year we were going to do as much as we could to, actually what we were going to do was move one of our, the police officer that's detailed to the DEA, we're going to move his salary into the DEA.
So the first 2 years, that's not coming out of local tax dollars.
In fact, hopefully all years. It won't
Great.
be.
When you mentioned that, I wanted to point that out. The 2 of our local schools that serve our township residents are having open houses. St. John's on Dry Ridge Road is having one on January 24th, and St. James on Cheviot Road is having an open house on January 17th. That would be this weekend. When I arrived home from work today, I wanted to mention I got something kind of incredible in the mail. It's an envelope, and it says, "This is not a bill or an advertisement. It's important information about your economic impact payment." And there was for lack of a better description, a gift card in there that calls upon those of us that receive, I guess everybody receives those payments either through direct deposit or what I thought was going to be a check. And there's a note that says, "Enclosed is your economic impact payment card. You are receiving this as a result of the COVID-related Tax Relief Act of 2020. I can't believe that the Department of the Treasury is mailing out gift cards that all you would have to do to access those funds is call and get a PIN number. That's incredible after everything that's happened with mass mailing out of ballots and everything else. Now they're mass mailing out gift cards. I would watch for this in your mailbox. What I intend to do with mine is take it to my bank and let them handle it. I'm not gonna, I just got this an hour before the meeting, so I need to take another look at it, but you might get an envelope in your mailbox. Don't throw it out.
Is that a U.S. bank card?
It's from a bank called Meta Bank, member FDIC. So
a lot of those that are going out are fake. You might...
Right, and that's why I brought it up, just so when you see this in your mailbox, try to figure out what it is. I think it's highly unusual for
And
the
you'll probably
government.
need to freeze your credit and file an identity theft, as I've been talking about for the last 3
Well,
weeks.
anyway, I just wanted to point out that came in my mail today. I did have a marvelous conversation with Chad Schaefer from Duke Energy just about a number of topics, and those who are wondering what that facility is on Colerain Avenue that through a long period of time came to be constructed, it's Duke Energy and the energy infrastructure we have here. It's the invisible servant that lights our rooms and heats our homes, and I'm sure glad that place is there. A lot of people are under a lot of stress right now, from either from the political climate or economic troubles or job changes. Reach out and call somebody. Our community has some marvelous churches, and our county has all sorts of social services. There are some desperate folks out there. Reach out and call somebody. I normally just hold this up and say, hey, if you got a property issue, 404-3057. But there are some real tragedies evolving out of things that have happened, and don't hesitate to pick up the phone or walk into any church in our township and just ask for a little help or a little somebody to talk to. I have one other item, and that is so many of our businesses are just struggling with the governor clampdown on our businesses. Please get out and support them and try to support our restaurants. And I want them all to be around 6 months or a year from now or next week for that matter. So don't be afraid to go out and support our local businesses. And I wish everyone the best. Thank you for the time, Raj.
Thank you. Thank you, Dan. That was a great report. Matt, do you want to go?
Sure. Real brief. I covered most of my stuff up with Ms. O'Connell. And Mr. Unger covered some of it with the unemployment claims. If you've been watching, I was on Brian Thomas this morning. I was on Channel 5 a couple days ago. That we, as a state and 19 other states, have a problem with unemployment fraud. I was told that at one point during the summer, there were over 275,000 fraudulent in Ohio, fraudulent applications. So if you get these cards, and my mother got one, 75 years old, she got one and was told that she filed for unemployment, which is kind of interesting. And then I got a different one from the board, from Ohio Job Services. Then you got a problem, usually. That sounds like it's different, and it may be, I don't know. But in which case I will be working with the chief to kind of put some information forward on that. This is a significant issue. The state of Ohio borrowed $1.2 billion to even out their unemployment compensation fund. And I have heard from so many people in the township that are like, I haven't gotten my unemployment yet from the spring, or I have issues with this identity theft. What's going on is that we're hitting now a third huge wave of fraudulent applications. And it's caused because the passage of at the federal level, we're still at the point where in order to get unemployment, you self-certify. You just say, yeah, I'm unemployed. And the checks go out, or the decimals get sent by banks. So it's important to kind of be cognizant of, those around you too that may not be as sophisticated with these kind of things. From everything I've been told from the lieutenant governor and from at the state levels, that this is an organized criminal event that comes from out of the country, and they're hitting probably 20 states. And they're just cleaning out with unemployment, and they just keep hitting with numbers and numbers and numbers. So please pay attention to that. And at desperate times, I think that people take advantage of that, and that's frustrating. Just take care, like Mr. Unger said, take care of each other. I think we're at almost 350,000 Americans that have died as a result of COVID. It was in the news. I don't know if you saw the young man. I think he's a sophomore from Moeller High School, collapsed on the court playing basketball. Turns out he had COVID. They didn't even catch it in a test. This is something that the mom has published, so I'm not, but he had a blood disease that came out of the COVID. I mean, it's scary, scary stuff. And take care of each other and pray for each other and just, I know that Colerain will pull through because, we're kind of like Tennessee. We're the volunteers. We try to help each other. So thank you so much for the time, Mr. Rajagopal.
Thank you, Matt. That was a great report. I want to briefly make my report very brief. I want to thank Debbie Hurst. Matt mentioned earlier, she's been picking up all the litters around the Skyline Acres area, the residents and the community centers there. And she's doing this in the cold weather and picking up. And she texts me all the information. I didn't bring my phone. But I just want to thank Debbie for your outstanding service for our community and make yourself pride in the place where you live and make our township proud. So following the same idea principle that Jeff Mills, we are hired, the board approved to hire 2 seasonal workers to pick up the trash. Now, I spoke to Mr. Mills last week. Now, CCA, the Colerain Community Service, these people are volunteers. They also involve the active steps to participate in a program which is 2021 Prosperous and Clean and Economic Development. If the township look clean and beautiful, and there is more opportunity for the other business come and do business with us. These are the guys sitting there. Also, they mentioned about make that place beautiful. They want to invest money, have the economic growth. That's one of the 2021 goal. I think I was following the Wall Street Journal. I think by the summer, the hardship we're going through because of COVID-19 will pass through. There is a bright future ahead of us for the economic development. This economic development be robust. It's going to pick up very good. And we had to be prepared for that. We got to take advantage of this. And that's one of the 2021 goals, economic development for the Colerain Township. And, also ODOT involved in that Colerain corridor plan. And also most likely we'll get a federal grant for that, which we created that corridor, we did a study on that. So in the 2021 is a combination of make our township beautiful, the bottom line, and make it economically grow. That's our goal, the 3 of us working with the help of the administration. Like Dane mentioned earlier, also Matt mentioned, people are lonely because of the COVID. A lot of senior citizens, even young people, lonely, very lonely. They're going through a lot of depressions. They can't go anywhere. They're afraid. This is a time as a community to reach out the people that are lonely we know of, any senior citizens we know of, they're lonely. Reach out to them, talk to them, see if they need anything. And we also got a great program, the food program that you're going to talk about later on. So we are moving forward, and please help each other. This is a time. That's my report. Okay. Next on the agenda is the administrative report.
Sure. New business?
Okay, trustee report, new business.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Rajagopal. The first item of new business will be presented by Ms. O'Connell and from Public Services. Ms. O'Connell?
Hello, gentlemen. I'm back again. Before you tonight, I have a motion to accept the capital grant funding in the amount of $500,000 and to authorize the township administrator to sign all related agreements, including the state local project agreement. So as you know, the state recently signed the capital budget bill in which we were awarded $500,000 for phase 2 of the Colerain Park Playground Replacement Project. This motion will allow the township administrator to execute all related agreements with the state to ensure the funding is able to be received by the township for this project. There's no match required with this grant, and phase 2 was included in the original contract authorized by the board with Logan Creek at the September 22nd Board of Trustee meeting. And these dollars were also anticipated and included in the 2021 budget. And I recommend adoption of the motion to authorize Mr. Mills to sign all related agreements to accept this grant, or this capital improvement money.
I motion to accept capital grant funding in the amount of $500,000 and to authorize the township administrator to sign all related agreements, including the state local project agreement.
I second it. Any discussions?
Thank you to the taxpayers of the state of Ohio.
Yeah, I'd like to give thank you to the taxpayers of the state of Ohio, and also our biggest kind of advocates for this, State Senator Bill Blessing, and State Representative Cindy Abrams, both of whom I probably burned up their phone line. As COVID evolved, I'm like, still fight for us, fight for us, fight for us. And we're able to get a large and significant grant for that help, and I appreciate their help in that.
Thanks, Matt. Agreeing with Dan and Matt, and thanks for the taxpayers. Also, we thank Representative Cindy Abrams and Senator Blessings to have that this amount. It's a large amount of grant available for us for our programs, which is also part of the Mcgowan Park. I asked Mr. Mills a week ago. We write a letter to thanking the representative and the senators. They can read it on the floor. All the 3 trustees will send it to them. Okay, any more discussion? Okay. So, call for the vote, please, Mr. Baker.
Mr. Unger?
Aye.
Mr. Rajagopal?
Aye.
Mr. Waller?
Aye.
Thank you, Mrs. O'Connell.
Gentlemen.
Very good. The next item on the agenda comes from the next 2 items come from the Department of Planning and Zoning, and will be presented by Mr. Mike Iona.
Thank you, Mr. Mills. The first item I have for the board is a resolution to approve zoning case ZA 2020-06, and that's changing the zoning on the site located at 3431 Springdale Road from R6 Urban Residential to PDR, that's a planned development residential district, to allow for the construction of 66 townhomes. The Colerain Township Zoning Commission had a hearing on December 15th, 2020, and following public hearing as well as testimony, they voted to approve the request subject to conditions. Those conditions are contained there in the resolution that was sent to you all in the staff packet. And staff is recommending that you all approve this resolution.
I'll motion to approve zoning case ZA 2020-06, changing the zoning on the site located 3431 Springdale Road from R6 Urban Residential to PDR Planned Development Residential to allow for the construction of 66 townhomes.
I will second it.
Any discussions?
Yes, I have a few comments. During the public hearing, there was some questions brought up, and thank you to the little calculator that our county auditor puts on the site, on his website for that piece of property at 3431 Springdale Road. It seems that the current annual taxes generated by that property are $8,987, and if the investment comes in around $12 million, that would change the tax collection on that to $283,421 using Dusty's tool that he has on there. So that's a increase of $275,000 in collected taxes for all the agencies in the county. Specific to here, it seems that property's currently generating about $2,034 a year for the township, and it seems that would go to $32,101 for a half year. Is that right?
That sounds right.
Yeah, and then for the school district, it would generate almost $150,000 in new collections. One of the other thoughts that I had, it seems that in May of 2019, we had a housing study here in Colerain Township. There's about 23,000 housing units. if you have 23,000 housing units, it would seem that you would need to replace 230 of them every year to be on a 100-year replacement cycle for your housing units. You would need to replace, 500 of them a year to be on a 50-year replacement. Now, the house I live in is 50 years old, and it's in fine shape because my wife and I take care of it, but I'm glad that your organization and your organization are interested in making these improvements in our township because, frankly, we need to keep up our housing stock and our infrastructure, and I thank you for considering Colerain Township for your investment. A couple of the other things that were brought up, off-street parking not defined or located, it seems to me that's something that'll go back to the zoning for the final plan approval.
Yes, so the process here is the preliminary development plan is approved, and that is supposed to consider density, intensity, and use. All of the other details like landscape, lighting, all of those details are handled in the final development plan phase, and that goes back to the zoning commission. So really what we're talking about here is a zone change that would accommodate the density, intensity, and use of the property.
Right, and I'm just going on some of the things that were brought up in the hearing earlier this evening. Legal method to control a maximum of 15% rental properties. It seems to me that the homeowners association that would be established is going to require that as a condition of this. Okay, and I already addressed the tax issue, and I'm just going on with my very first look at what the auditor says about it, and it's going to increase the tax collections quite a bit. So mine might go down $1, and everybody's might go down $1. If we've got somebody paying in $32,000 a year, that would seem that if you spread that out over the 23,000 or so properties, everybody's is going to go down $1, which is not much, but I'll put that dollar in my pocket. And those were some of the things that were brought up. And then the one other thing about connecting some sidewalk to Taylor Elementary, if we follow through with this and establish a tax increment financing, it seems to me that would directly serve this property. So would we be able to construct a sidewalk out of TIF dollars if that was the favor of the board?
Sure. If the board wanted to establish a TIF district on this property, that would be an allowable use. And in fact, when the board approved the sidewalk plan for Colerain Township that the planning department did an excellent job putting together, this was one of the priority segments, was connect. What we were trying to do is connect assets. And so one of the major assets, of course, are our parks and our schools. Well, there's a demonstrated need for sidewalk from Taylor to Chuck Palm Park, and why not continue it down to this new connection into the Northbrook neighborhood? The problem is that finding revenues to support those very expensive projects is difficult. But if you were to establish a tax increment financing district, I think it makes a lot of sense to use that to provide infrastructure to support this new development.
Well, and I guess my final comment based on what the presentation was, and I don't believe I've ever met either of you two gentlemen, but I'd like to say thank you for bringing your resources and skill set to Colerain Township, and I'm looking forward to it. So thank you. I didn't know if the other trustees had the comment.
You got any comments?
Sure. Let's start with Mr. Mills here. Not an exact number, but half-mile sidewalk.
Good question. The design and engineering, and then if there's right-of-way that's required to be purchased, and then the actual construction, it varies. But and I don't have a number that I can pull out of my hat.
Maybe
Construction is about $40 a linear foot.
Using prevailing wage, public project, $25 a foot.
Okay.
For construction, but with design.
Construction plus whatever planning
And yeah, right away and all that.
Thank you for your presentation. I took a look at some of the comps you listed. I have a couple questions. So the HOA, let me start with that with the 15%. I know that there are different flavors and varieties. Do you allow the HOA to kind of grassroots write that? Or, I mean, I know 15% rental. Well, does it apply if I buy a unit and I rent out to my brother or cousin? A lot of times I think those get a little bit fungible. And next thing you've got a 15% rental and yet it's being rented out, it's rented out to somebody's third cousin's boyfriend's hairdresser or something, I don't know. That's pretty much enforced by loans, right? When it comes to like, if there are certain loans you can't get if it's over 15% to purchase. Am I correct on that? Or?
The 15% rate was what was determined by the zoning commission.
Could you step up to the microphone? Sorry,
Okay.
thanks.
But like FHA, you can't get loans on it if it's a 30-40% rental.
You know, I honestly can't provide
Okay.
you a clear answer because we don't develop rental properties. So, Ryan Homes is a for-sale builder. 66 homes will be sold by 66 separate new residents, new homeowners to the township. I think when we, when we presented to zoning commission, we were looking at a way to prevent this community from becoming a rental neighborhood. And the intent was that, if somebody is transferred out of town for their job and wants to rent for a couple years to somebody with the intent to move back, kind of an anomaly, or this is maintenance-free living. So there's people that may go down to Florida for 4 months out of the year that may want to rent it for a few months. We'd have a mechanism within the covenants and restrictions of the homeowners association that they would disclose to the HOA board and the management company that they're renting their property, and there'd be limitations on it. I don't see that.
Okay. Did you have a market value? I mean, I think the number that I was being thrown around was, I don't know, high 170, 180, 200,000 kind of for these. Is that?
I'm going to let Craig answer. He's
Okay.
the guy who's going to be building the houses, so he'll.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, we would be looking at, on average, about the low 200s. It will start in the, probably the upper 180s, go to, and go up to the 220s, 230s. But the average, what we're probably looking at is about the low 200s.
Okay, and again, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I had trouble justifying that with one of the ones that you gave us as a sample, the one in Painesville Township. Those are slightly larger at the Riverwood Village community. I don't know if you're familiar with that in Painesville Township, but those are 1,300 square feet and they're in the 130s. I mean, is it a function of the market here, you think? I mean, I'm sure you've done your comps before you dump $11 million in it, so I'm not questioning that. It's just that that kind of, they don't run parallel. I mean, maybe you could help me out.
I'm not familiar with if that's in Ohio or Virginia. Is that another location you're saying?
Yeah, it's up near Cleveland, I think, because it's right on the.
So there are some different makeups of this type of townhome. So you saw it is a 3-story with a single car garage. There are other ones where you have a 2-story, no garage, and you just have parking. So it all depends on location and the makeup of what would be provided in that type of town.
So this is the one that you're looking to.
Correct. Yes, the one with the 1-car garage and it's 3 stories. So like I said, there's a different makeup where there would be no garage. We are not doing that in this location.
Right.
All of them would be, as Mike in the presentation was shown, was with the 1-car garage.
So what's the back look like? Is that all siding? Is that all vinyl? Or the windows?
There would be a door, out of the back. There's a storage rec room area there. There would be a door out the back of that. You'd have windows and off the rear also. But yes, it would be a vinyl on the rear. Okay.
I think that actually might be all I have. Again, I'd like to thank you again for considering Colerain Township. We really feel that we're an up and moving place, and love to have you here. And I'll turn it over to Mr. Rajagopal for his questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. You guys raised great questions. I just want to, hypothetically speaking, you are going to market these homes between 160 or to 200,000, something like that, right? Those
It's more like 180s and 220s.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. How does that look if for a single garage? I saw that housing more like closing. Could be marketable for that much price?
This type,
people buy that for.
Yes, we've looked at resale in here, the age of the houses that are being sold in your township, And, for the square footage and for the price point, there is a need in the township for this type of product and for the size of the unit. Yes, we do feel there's the market.
Dan mentioned earlier, the market value in Colerain went up. The auditor did the assessment now. It's about 18%. It's went up. So there is potential there for good housing, like Dan mentioned about. There's a time for Colerain to have new homes. The location you guys are doing that, building the place, is right place, because I draw this place almost every day. All I see is dead trees and people throwing trash empty. It is a pretty ugly sight. That you coming forward to build a homes, hopefully it's a nicer homes, it'll bring a different type of image to that area. Hopefully that other area will follow that suit, building the place. It is commendable that you guys move forward and decide to build the homes. But on one condition, we also look at the concerns of our residents. And you heard in the public hearing, one of the residents, Mr. Rich Mcgowan, mentioned about, if you want the copy, I can give it to you, what are the concerns they have. Like the main concerns they're talking about the sidewalk, the lighting, the street lightings, and more like a green space. They're looking forward to that. So how you make sure you fulfill that thing, those are the items, some of the items they're talking about. So it'll be a great project. Okay, thank you for doing that.
Thank you.
One other comment, Raj.
Go ahead.
During Mr. Iona's presentation, and to the point that we've all made about the new construction, he did mention that what is immediately next door to the east was all approved in 1970, which would make it, if it was built in 70, 71, 72, that's all about 50 years old. So I'm glad to have some new housing stock moving in right next door. And just so I have it, I didn't get your last name, sir.
Rassi, R-A-S-S-I.
C-R-A-I-G?
Correct.
Okay. Well, thanks for both of you for your time this evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, any further discussions?
Not from me.
Mr. Baker, call for the vote, please.
Mr. Unger?
Aye.
Mr. Rajagopal?
Aye.
Mr. Waller?
Aye.
Thank you.
Very good. Thanks.
Board, the next item is a motion to initiate a map amendment to change the zoning on a site from R7, that's a multifamily district, to a planned development business, that's a PDB. The map within the staff report or the staff packet that was sent out and posted online shows the approximate area being proposed for rezoning. This would initiate a zoning on the site in question that's being conducted in service of economic development efforts associated with the existing crossings of Colerain commercial development, that strip center right next to Grosbeck Park. And essentially what this would do is it would take the site and it would make that zoning, which is currently R7, the same zoning as the adjacent shopping center. And again, this is being done in service of economic development efforts at that crossings of Colerain Shopping Center. And the motion, staff is recommending that you all approve the motion to initiate this zone change.
I'll motion to initiate a zoning map amendment to change the zoning on a site from R7 multifamily to PDB planned development business.
I second it. Any discussions?
Not from me.
It's another improvement for the economic development. I think
Yes,
you're
sir.
right on the target.
Yes, sir. And this, just to be clear, this starts the process. It will come back to you as we move through the process, but it begins this process, and you'll see it again in a few months.
Thank you.
Great. Any further questions, Matt?
No.
Mr. Baker, call for the vote, please.
Mr. Unger,
Aye.
Mr. Rajagopal,
Aye.
Mr. Waller.
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. Iona. Good evening. Okay, the next couple of items are from administration, and the first one is a motion adopting the 2021 pay schedule. Give me just one, there we go. So in the trustee agenda packet, there was a schedule of 26 this year, and hopefully for the next 10 years, 26 pays this year. And if the township were, the only deviation from a typical pay schedule is that Friday of the 26th pay period falls on December 31st, and so we've moved it back a day. Aside from that, it's a very typical 26-day pay year, and the recommendation is to adopt the motion.
A motion to adopt the 2021 pay schedule.
I will second it.
Any discussion?
Nope.
None? If there's none, Mr. Baker, call for the vote, please.
Mr. Unger,
Aye.
Mr. Rajagopal,
Aye.
Mr. Waller.
Aye.
Thank you, Board. The next item is a motion to approve a change in healthcare brokers to Mcgowan Braybender. We pride ourselves on taking a hard look at all of our contracts, and Mr. Weckbach led this effort to review our contract with USI, who currently serves as the township's broker for health insurance. Generally speaking, we're going to try to perform these full review of contracts once every 5 years. In the fall of 2020, Mr. Weckbach and staff conducted a review of our healthcare brokers, including our current broker. We met with USI, our current broker, Mcgowan Braybender, Horan, and Highland. After reviewing these 4 companies, the township felt that Mcgowan Braybender provided the best level of service and expertise to meet our health care negotiation needs. We don't need a formal agreement with the broker, but they are empowered to act on behalf of the township and negotiate with different health insurance providers. All the compensation to the broker is paid directly by the insurance agency, not the township. The compensation rate between the brokers is all the same. It's an odd sort of market, right? So they were not evaluated based on cost because they all cost the same amount. Pending the approval of this item, I will send letters to our health insurance providers to notify them that we have changed brokers. Recommendation is to adopt the motion.
Okay, thank you.
I motion that we approve the change in healthcare brokers to Mcgowan Braybender.
I second it. Any discussions?
None.
Done.
None. Mr. Baker?
Mr. Unger,
Aye.
Mr. Rajagopal,
Aye.
Mr. Waller.
Aye.
Thank you, Board. The next item is a motion authorizing the Township Administrator to enter into an agreement with Energy Alliances for consulting services for the residential solid waste and recycling contract. The Township has an existing contract for residential solid waste and recycling. The contract is set to expire March 31st of this year. Over the course of several trustee meetings last year, staff presented various options and considerations for the next potential iteration of a solid waste and recycling contract for residents. Based on those conversations, staff was directed to work with Springfield Township and evaluate a potential for a joint bid for residential trash and recycling. Through these conversations, both Springfield Township and Colerain Township staff saw advantages to utilizing an independent third party to serve as the consultant for development of any or all bid specifications and to review the bids received. For perspective, the township used Nestor Resources as the vendor to negotiate and develop the bid specification last time we went through this, Nestor Resources. Colerain Township currently uses Energy Alliances to negotiate and evaluate our responses to the electric aggregation program. They have a division known as Cost Management Alliances that specifically works with governments on joint bids and other cost sharing or saving solutions. Staff recommends adoption of the motion.
Okay, we have a motion to authorizing township. Township administrator to enter into agreement with Energy Alliance for a consulting service for the residential solid waste and recycling contract.
I'll second that.
In discussions?
Yes,
No.
Did you want to go, Matt?
No, I'm not.
On item 3, it says fees payable to consultant shall be paid by the vendor.
Correct.
The vendor being the successful,
Yes, sir.
okay. That's my
Okay,
only question.
Jeff, how much in-depth experience Energy Alliance has with dealing with the solid waste management
I'm going to bring Jeff Weckbach up. He is
recycling
leading
program?
this effort.
So I see the mic is on, so I hope that that is correct and everybody can hear me at home. So my understanding is that they recently hired a new individual to come onto their team who has a lot of background and expertise in these types of contracts. Now their cost management alliances services have done a number of different contracts and agreements, specifically looking for cost sharing and efficiencies between organizations. So there's a little bit of harmony there that already existed internally. And I believe they have the internal staff that's able to perform this type of work.
Thank you, Jeff.
Yep.
Thank you. Okay, any further discussions?
None.
None. Mr. Baker, call for the vote, please.
Ms. Strunger,
Aye.
Mr. Rajagopal,
Aye.
Mr. Waller.
Aye.
Thank you, Board. There is no old business tonight, but there are a number of consent items that I'll roll through here. The first item on the consent agenda is a new hire for litter laborers. We talked about this earlier. The position of litter laborer was posted, applications were received, interviews were conducted. A conditional offer of employment was extended to John Yunt and Brett Niehaus. The wage for this job is $15 an hour for 20 hours per week. Contingent upon board approval, they would be eligible to begin work on January 18th. Additionally, on the consent agenda is a recommendation for a new hire for a maintenance worker position in the Public Services Department. The position was posted, we received applications and conducted interviews. A conditional offer of employment was extended to Benjamin Engel. The wage for this job is $19 per hour for 40 hours a week. Upon attaining his CDL, his rate would move to $21 per hour per the collective bargaining agreement. Contingent upon board approval, Mr. Engel would begin work on January 13th. That is tomorrow. Additionally, there were a number of contracts that were signed over the last month. Recall that the board has delegated the authority to sign contracts less than $10,000 to the administrator, and I placed them on this consent agenda to maximize transparency, and you understand, and residents and anyone else can see what exactly what contracts are being entered into. So in the past month, I executed a contract with Plattenberg Accounting for accounting services so that they could help us with our schedule of federal assistance. That was the fee for those services is going to be $450 to the township. The second contract I signed was also with Plattenberg. This was to provide accounting services to prepare our financial statements. The fee for this service is not to exceed $5,200. The next contract that I signed was with the Board of Elections. This was a rental agreement. This continues our relationship with the Board of Elections so that voting can occur here at 4300 Springdale at our Community and Senior Center. The next contract I signed was with the University of Cincinnati Medical Center for access to it was a memorandum of understanding really that provides the terms and conditions for our fire department to have use of the University of Cincinnati Medical Center's mobile stroke unit. That's a shared service MOU. The next contract I signed was with Abercrombie and Associates for a survey of Groesbeck Park. According to the scope of services, they will survey a portion of Groesbeck Park for the township. And this was in accordance with the new master services agreement that the board established late last year. The next contract is with Sydney Geckler. Sydney is a University of Cincinnati DAP student. She is a co-op in the Economic Development Department. That expense was budgeted and approved in the 2021 budget. This is a personal services agreement that'll take her through May. The next contract was with Logan Creek for the Playground Park project. This contract provides additional services due to unforeseen circumstances that were not addressed in the original bid packet. The total amount there was $8,400. Can I say final? Yes, the final contract that was signed was with Council on Aging. This was to continue to provide senior meals. This contract provides $28,000 in revenue to the township to provide congregate meals and meal delivery in our new paratransit vehicle that you see zipping around town, driven by Bud Rader, who's just really an angel to a lot of these seniors in our community. We do have a local match of $4,842. That's the, yep, got that one, yep. And finally, on the consent agenda, there are two donations. The first is a donation of $900 from the Cincinnati Moose Lodge number 2. We are grateful for that donation. The Moose Lodge came up earlier today, also did a great job cleaning up in front of the Police and Fire Memorial down in front of Duke. The final donation acceptance and the final item on the agenda, the consent agenda, is a donation acceptance in public services. It's a vehicle from the Hamilton County Engineers Office. At the December 10th, 2020 Hamilton County Board of Commissioners meeting, the county commissioners adopted a resolution that donated a 2002 Ford F-150 with an aero board for the purpose of cleaning up litter as part of the new litter pickup program. That vehicle is valued at $1,000 and will be put to good use if you approve the consent agenda and all the items that are on there. Recommendation is to approve.
We have a motion to approve all the consent items. Mr. Mills just read.
I will second it.
Any discussions?
Yes, on item E, which is the contract with the Board of Elections rental agreement, I read that they do not pay us to use the facilities because they are already taxpayer-supported facilities. So I guess any janitorial time or cleanup time is something we provide for the Board of Elections, which I'm fine with, but just so people know that as opposed to a church or other building, we do not get paid for that. I don't think you mentioned the compensation for Sidney Geckler. It looks like the contract is for $400 a month for January, February, March, April, May.
Yes, sir.
So that's the way I read that. The pickup truck from the Hamilton County Engineers Office, I think it's the goal of the three of us, and I'll speak for myself, that we would get this litter pickup program started. Right now, we have no startup cost, so that's where Dan likes it, is at zero startup cost. Let's see how it goes for 3, 6, 9 months, a year, and if it works, I'd certainly consider updating the equipment, but right now, we've got a nice vehicle with a nice illuminated yellow safety aero board, and congratulations to the whole board for coming up with no startup cost on this litter pickup program. So, I mean, obviously, when the employees start, we'll be paying them, but I'm excited, and I think we all are. Those are my comments.
Thank you, Dan. That's good. Mr. Mad?
Yeah, just thank you again to the county for the pickup truck and for Mr. Unger for pursuing that. And also a thanks again to the Moose Lodge. Thank you so much for your support in making the community a better place.
Great. Jeff, which Moose Lodge? Is the one the Colerain area?
Yeah, their new location is just south of Galbraith, behind in the old LA sound system.
I'm sorry, what?
Just south of Galbraith.
Okay.
It's very near the Duke Operations Center.
Oh, okay.
Is the new location.
Okay. The second time they donated.
Absolutely, they do a fantastic job.
Great,
They support the
good.
township.
We'll send the letters to them.
Sure,
Thank you.
happy to.
Okay,
Yep.
please. On behalf of trustees or so thank you. Also, that food program are really for senior citizens. That's a marvelous program we have.
Yes, sir.
You know, and going out, seek out that grant from the COA, you know, Commercial Aging, and it's only cost only a little bit money to match, but it brings out so much help, especially this time, pandemic time. Senior citizens cannot go out, and we're taking the food. How's YMCA doing? Pretty good job on?
The YMCA is doing spectacular, and this is with Council on Aging is how we do our congregate meals and our meal delivery. But they dovetail so nicely with the work that the YMCA does and the programming they have for our seniors. It's really it's a special set of programs.
Right. Good. Great. If any more discussions, Mr. We already called. Okay. Call for the board. Right.
Mr. Unger?
Aye.
Mr. Rajagopal?
Aye.
Mr. Waller?
Aye.
Thank you, Board. We've accomplished a lot this evening.
The next on the agenda is a fiscal officer report.
Thank you, Board. I'll be brief, not much of a report tonight. I just wanted to give a year-end update on public records requests that were fulfilled, not just from my tenure here, April 1st and on, but the entire year. We fulfilled roughly 486 public records requests. And that's no small feat. A lot of people are involved in helping out with that. We have currently 51 active public records requests. We made a pretty big dent in them when we were down to 22, but we were actually receiving public records requests on Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, New Year's Eve, and New Year's Day, oddly enough. But so we have 51 active, and that's all I have. If you compare it to our neighbors in green, they fulfilled 11 in 2020. So went to public school and was pretty good at math, and we did a lot more than they did. So that's all I have, Board.
Thank you. I have a comment I had forgotten to mention before we adjourn. I wanted to mention Debbie Horst's Giving Tree fence down at 2551 Compton at Compton Recycling. There are little boxes where you can drop off gloves and socks and scarves and things for people in need, and then people in need can go pick them up. She was featured on, I'm going to get it wrong if it was 5 or 12, one of the channels. So if you're in need or if you have extra, it's a fantastic opportunity for the community. So thanks for letting me get that in.
Oh, thanks, Matt. And she's doing an outstanding job. And she did also during the Christmas time.
And at Christmas time, she helped raise money for a family that needed help for Christmas too. So she's a genuine heart and helps out the community.
Good. And also, whenever Northbrook community have some type of family picnic, she always donate extreme amount of food and make that happen. So thanks. Mr. Baker, I want to thank you for our effort to, work hard to send all this, the request, all the requests. I know, especially during the holiday time, you guys worked hard. Christmas Eve, New Year's Eve, all these days, spend hours of time. We thank you so much for the extraordinary work you're doing.
My pleasure.
Okay, if any further, we'll motion to adjourn the meeting.
Motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
Any discussions? Any comments?
Well, Raj, you got your meeting done in 9 hours or 2 hours and 2 minutes.
We have to vote.
Board of Trustees adjourn the meeting. Huh?
To vote.
Hey.
You still got to vote.
Oh, Mr. Baker.
Mr. Unger?
Aye.
Mr. Rajagopal?
Aye.
Mr. Waller?
Aye.
Hey, that's my history.